Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about eliminating the entitlement epidemic. That is a thinker. And we are going to be thinking about this today with Bracha, my special guest, who is a returning guest because I love her mindset so much that I had to bring her back and pick her brain on this great topic that we are going to be thinking about today. So thank you so much, Braga, for coming on to my show and sharing your time and your perspective. Let's just dive right in, right? Let's just dive in. When you hear the word entitlement epidemic, what does that make you think about?
Well, okay. It's in, I think it's an epidemic that it's kind of widespread that people feel entitled to things. In other words, we take what we have for granted. We feel like, sure, it's coming to me. But really, if we think about it differently from a whole new perspective, we realize that we are being flooded with gifts every single moment. If we pause just momentarily to appreciate it, that's how we eliminate the entitlement epidemic. We begin to realize how much we're being loved up every single moment in life.
It's beautiful. I think that is a great way to cure it because that is a big thing. Gratitude really does shift our perspective. And when we are able to allow ourselves to see the little things, the little things, instead of getting caught up on the bigger things or our expectations, you know what I mean? Because I think that's another problem is that our expectations leads us to entitlement. So I guess I have to ask
Exactly.
you, I mean, when you hear the word expectations, what does that make you think about?
Yeah, it's so true. The lower our expectations are, the more we'll be delighted with what we get. That's just the way it is. If we have high expectations, we're bound to be disappointed. So why
Mhm.
not lower our expectations? It doesn't mean we can't strive for things, and we will. In fact, the more joy that we have in our life, it doesn't keep us from striving. We want there to be more and more joy. It's a wonderful thing. It's not like if we have joy, that's enough. Okay. No, it's, it's, we want to experience it more and more and more, the more joyful our lives get. So, but, but there's no reason to have high expectations is a recipe for disaster and stress and
Yes.
never feeling like you have enough. So,
Yeah.
yeah, low expectations is definitely the way to go. And then we're always delightfully surprised, you know?
Right, because you weren't expecting it at all. Because, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Because sometimes we expect certain things to work a certain way, move a certain way, act a certain way. We expect that with coworkers at work, with our children, with our family members, with our spouses, with our partners, with anything, with our animals. Like, oh, how can you bark at that thing right there? There's not, you know what I mean? We have these expectations for the smallest of things. But then
Yes.
you're right. It's like there's expectations and standards are way too different. And I think a lot of the times people combine those two together and think that expectations and standards are the same, and then they get trapped in this entitlement, like I was owed this, you know what I mean? In your opinion, what is your thoughts on standards? I mean, what does that make you think when you think of standards?
Ah, that's interesting. So, for instance, we should not be allowing abuse.
Mhm.
That's not acceptable. That's a standard.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the more we recognize how loved up we are every moment with all the gifts that we're getting in our lives, in each incredible moment, that makes us not accept abuse even more, which is it's really interesting how that works because we come to respect ourselves more. The
Yeah.
more we see that the universe is loving us, the more we understand that, um, it 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 gives us a view of there is a certain standard that we we respect ourselves more because we recognize how much love is coming into our lives at every moment. That it just changes us, and then we don't put up with abusive behavior because it doesn't fit with that love story. If you know what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely makes sense, because it is our love story. Our lives are a love story. And it's just
Right.
how much love are you putting out into the world? How much love are you allowing yourself to receive? And I think that is something that people don't really think about. It's like, am I receiving love today? Or have I put out any love today? And I think it comes down to what you were saying earlier. It allows joy to fill your life because you're allowing love to be your main focus. And when love is your main focus, I mean, there's nothing you can do that is wrong because your intentions come from a place of pure love. I mean,
Purity.
is that's how I'm understanding. Is that right?
Yes, it's recognizing that inside you is is infinite love. There's a
Mm.
place of infinite love and beauty. That's why abuse is not tolerable. Because that's who we really are. At our essence, at our core, we are filled with infinite love, infinite beauty, infinite intelligence. All of that is there inside of us. Um, so we, the, there's an ancient mystical definition of love, which is appreciating the virtues of another. Now, there were very lonely times in my life when I didn't know about this. And I felt like I needed someone else's love, and I felt a real scarcity of love and pleasure in my life. Um, yeah, it was a very lonely time because it was in the years before I understood that we have the power to bring love into our lives at any moment. It's not dependent on other people. It's about us focusing on the virtues of another, and that person doesn't even have to be in your presence, but you can appreciate them. Like I say, even in prison, a person could think of a grandmother that once did a kindness for them and be filled up emotionally with a warm feeling of inspiration to become a better person. We have the power to bring love into our lives at any moment. Whether we're completely alone in our apartment, it doesn't matter. Um, we can still do that with through focusing on what we appreciate about other people.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I wish more people can see it that way. So I have to ask you, is there any form of entitlement that is correct? Mm.
What are we entitled to?
Yeah, that's the real question. What are we entitled to?
I the main state I feel our main what I again this is when I was searching for years for the purpose of life until I finally discovered that the purpose of life is to be grateful.
Mm.
So every moment that we spend in gratitude is a moment that we're not being miserable. If we feel entitled to all the gifts that we have, our health, the fact that we're breathing, the fact that we have eyes and ears and arms and legs that are working, all the diseases that we don't have this minute. If we feel entitled to that, it decreases our gratitude. So sure, we can feel entitled to it, but why? We can choose instead to feel grateful for it. And that's such a more joyful place to be. So that's the choice that we have every moment to just accept things. But what are we entitled to? We're really not entitled to anything. We're here to to experience this garden with joy and gratitude. That's really why we were created. That was a whole new perspective for me when I finally learned that about life, and it changes everything. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does because people feel like, oh, I'm old. Oh, I deserve this, or I'm entitled to this amount of money, or I'm entitled to this house, or I'm entitled to this job, I'm entitled to have this, this, and this. But it's like you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right, in my opinion. In my opinion, I believe that we are not entitled to anything. I mean, we are here to serve others. We are here to help others. We are here to for a greater purpose beyond ourselves. And once we tap into just gratitude and love, having those two combined together, that's a beautiful combination, a recipe for success. You know what I mean? Just something that you can go on living. Like if you don't know what to do today, well, then you know what? Think about gratitude. If you don't know what to do today, well, think about love and how you can show love and how you can serve love and how you can tap into all of those love languages that somebody may need. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know how far compassion can truly save someone. You know what I mean? Like, I was just recently dealing with something, and that was one thing where compassion saved someone's life. You know what I mean? I could see
Wow.
it save her eyes. I could see it change people's heart in the room. And it was just about just having compassion, giving somebody the benefit of the doubt. The world can be cruel to you, but that does not give you the right to be cruel in return. You know what I mean? I feel that once you stop the cruelty and you will allow it to end at
Mm,
you, you know what I mean?
wow.
Where you say the line is here, no more. I won't allow it to go past me. It may hit
Wow.
me, it may inflict me, but it won't go past me and I won't push it out. It won't come out of me either. And I think
Wow.
when people have that acknowledgement, I think it really changes them to allow themselves to embody that gratitude, embody that joy that you were talking about, to find the pleasures of seeing somebody just smile. Oh my goodness. I will go out of my way to make sure that somebody smiles at least once in the day that I am around. You know what I mean? Like I will scream out of a car and tell somebody that their outfit looks so cute. You know what I mean? Like I'm one of
Oh,
those type of people that will stop somebody and be like, "Hey, you are looking good, rock it." You know what I'm saying? Like, because those
oh,
little things they change so much, in my
yes,
opinion. You know what I mean? I
yes,
mean,
yes,
in your
yes.
opinion, what is a great way to like to see it in somebody else and how to change it, how to flip the switch?
Like, I love what you're saying. One of my books is called Let's Appreciate Everyone. It's a book that explains to children that are not as neurodiverse. It explains about disabilities because children with disabilities are usually the loneliest children around. They don't get invited to play dates and parties like other children.
Yeah.
And 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 children that don't have such prominent disabilities, they were just never explained, the guidelines were never explained to them how to interact, so they don't know what to do and they'll stare, which is totally normal. They're curious. They stare at a child with a physical disability. So what I learned is there's another five-letter word like stare, and it also begins with S. And it's what you just said, smile. If you stare and you add your smile, then you create a bridge from your heart to the child's heart. That's all that's needed. Like you were saying, a smile goes right into another person's heart. And I'll show you this book. It's Let's Appreciate Everyone. It explains to the children, I actually go into it. If a child is deaf, what you could do, how you speak slowly and carefully, how you could learn sign language. And like if a child is blind, you come up, you introduce yourself first. If you're going away, you say, I'm going away now. You explain these things. If someone's in a wheelchair, you don't stand up, you sit down next to them so you're on the same level. And there's many invisible disabilities, social skills that children don't have, like ask them to join. If you see a child sitting on the side and they don't know how to join in, ask them to join. And if they don't want to, they don't want to. Sometimes they don't, but at least they'll be glad that you asked. It just teaches guidelines that maybe nobody ever explained to children, which is something I love to do because I've also written books about the prevention of abuse for children. And believe it or not, these are my most popular books because children love the security of knowing how to behave in this world. They appreciate the guidelines. It makes them feel safer, not more frightened when they understand what to watch out for, how to behave in this world. Because there was a time in life when the world seemed like a scary place to me until I learned. And these guidelines for life, the earlier we can teach them to children, the better,
Yeah,
because we can always learn happiness skills at any point in life because we have neuroplasticity. We can always change, but the earlier we teach them, the better. Then they can have a more joyful life from
exactly.
there on in.
Yeah, and I know, and I love that. I love your books. I love all of your books, to be honest. You inspire me to keep writing my children books, to be honest, because I love how your dedication to the next generation is what's going to be molding them to help them see the world differently. Like we don't realize like when we are a child or when we have children, all they are trying to do is find their place, find their direction, find their acceptance, find their way,
Yes,
their reason to be around. And some children are so smart for their own good. Oh, bless them, because they are so intelligent where they already know, oh, their surroundings are wrong. They already know, they have that awareness like, oh, my parents, they shouldn't act like this, or
right,
oh, I shouldn't treat somebody like this, or just because they say something like this, I'm going to step up and do the right thing. You know what I mean?
right,
Those
right.
individuals who have that initiative inside of them to do the right thing versus what's acceptable or what's in the moment of the scenario, whatever the scene is, the situation is, like these individuals, they're turning out these children, they're turning to become leaders, you know what I mean? Because they are seeing something and they know that it's wrong, and they know that, you know what, everyone's entitled to love. Everyone's entitled. You know what I mean? If anything, if there's any type of entitlement owed, I think love is the only thing, you know what I mean, that people can say I'm entitled to. But it's like you got to know your definition of love. You know what I mean? You got to know your definition and what it really means to you. And I think that is something that people really need to remember. And I have to ask you, how can people go from failure, from seeing life as a failure to seeing life as an opportunity? You know, how does
Yes.
somebody switch that flip around?
I, I I felt that way that there was a point in my life when I just didn't want to go on. I didn't see the point. And it's crazy. I know it sounds really strange because I looked like very successful on the outside. I ended up going to Harvard. I went to medical school and I was suffering while I was there because I didn't understand the purpose of life.
Yeah.
What are we doing this all for? And
Mhm.
when I finally got that, it changed the whole perspective for me. Like the world turned gray and the colors came back when I understood the world became vibrant again. Like at that point, I had no morals. It didn't matter if I lived or not. Nothing mattered. And then when I understood the purpose of what we're here for, then everything was bright and beautiful again. And it's like this for everybody. You just take a little thing. I love to give the description of an orange because it's like so basic. Like I talk about how it's almost all the fruit are green. They're camouflaged in with the leaves, they're hidden until they're ready for us. And then when they're ready, they're bright and beautiful colors, as vivid as could be, they become.
Yeah.
And so they're beautiful pleasure for our eyes. They smell beautiful. And then, and the sweet juiciness, it's kept in for months in this package, this individual packaging. And when you after you experience it, you're left with the seeds of eternity. These seeds become, they could become infinite more trees, infinite more oranges, all of that intelligence and love is packed into this orange just for you. The orange that you eat was designed for you to experience all that care, all that loving compassion. That's there. And of course, we don't always mindfully eat everything like that, but the potential is there. The potential is there to distill out the loving kindness in all the moments that we experience, because we go through life feeling like there's a scarcity of pleasure in our lives. We
Yeah.
we have a voice that's telling us to focus on what we're lacking all the time, what
Wow.
we're missing. And if I only had that, I'd be happy. But that voice is given to us on purpose in order to barbell, push away the barbell, and that's how you grow your gratitude muscles. We push that voice away, and then we feel the gratitude growing. That's how we do it, because we all have that voice. We all have a
Hmm.
voice telling us, you're missing out. You don't have as much pleasure as you want. And that's why I used to overeat. I used to just stuff my face so the pleasure would keep on lasting. But really, when I discovered that just makes you feel emptier as you finish the whole container of ice cream, you feel even emptier than the container. No, but the gratitude lasts. That's what gives you connection, because then you feel the love. You know you're being cared for.
Exactly. One thing that I was taught at a very young age was work with what you got. That sentence alone, work with what you got, saved me from going through this entitlements because I every time
Well,
I felt entitled, I always felt like, okay, but you can work with what you got. You can work with what you got. You have enough though. You may not have what somebody else have, but you can still work with what you got. So that
well,
has been always been something that I always leaned on, and I always told people like, okay, you may not have a car, but you have legs and you can walk.
yes,
You know what I
yes,
mean? You may
yes,
not have the latest clothes, but you know what? You can borrow your sister's. That's not that does,
yes.
you know what I mean? Or you can make something out of anything that you have. You can mix and match, you can design, you can do whatever. Imagination gives you freedom to tap into all of the unknown that you say you don't have. And it's like you
Beautiful.
said, that voice inside us that tells us that we're not enough or we don't have enough, the scarcity. Oh, when you talked about the scarcity, I felt it because it's so real. And that's one thing that God is working with me right now. And I think that if we learn to have more of a giving spirit, you know what I mean, of a selfless spirit, then we are able to take the camera from ourselves, focusing all on ourselves, the mirror, looking at all ourselves. Like we can break that mirror to not have a reflection, but to have a window to see, and to see it as an opportunity. You know what I mean? To see it as an opportunity to work with what you got and to use it, because what you have is something that somebody else doesn't have. And if you
Yes,
bring that to somebody, oh, what the change that can do to somebody's life. So, yes, I honestly believe that to really tackle down this entitlement, it comes down to joy, appreciation, imagination,
beautiful.
gratitude. Oh my goodness, just giving, having that giving spirit and reminding yourself, you know what I mean? That you don't have to be in competition with anybody. You don't have to live your life accordingly to whoever's next to you or whoever's in your environment. You know what I mean? You are who you are, and that is great. Oh, and that is beautiful. Just tap into
Yes.
that. And I think if more people realize that they have the power to do that, they can fill up the room like your orange. Oh, I love your orange explanation because it really does put things to perspective. Like if anybody had an orange, just looking at it, if somebody were to open it, it'll smell the whole entire room. everything will smell beautiful, everything will be good. And not only can it, once you open that orange, you can share that orange, so
Mm-hmm.
everybody in the room can have a little piece. It's not a single fruit, you know what I mean? That's not a selfish fruit,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a giving fruit. So it's just like,
Yes.
I love that analogy of an orange, because if more people thought of ways that they can just serve or be of service or just to be helpful, you know what I mean, would be such a different world. Because we are, everybody's so hurt and they feel like they have to hurt, allow other people to hurt so that they know how they feel or they can have that same
Mm,
mindset. But it's like, only if you knew that love brings together unity more than pain does. You know what I mean?
mm,
Fear
mm,
pushes people away versus love that brings people together. And it's like, you can have power with fear, but you can have, oh, change, a love, a respect, a joy, a gratitude, and such a loyalty when it comes to love that fear will never be able to give you. And I think
mm.
that's something that people really, really need to think about on that aspect. Oh, so I guess my next question is, what is your thoughts on fear?
Fear. Fear used to be enveloping me all day, my whole life. It took over my life.
Hmm.
When I had a food addiction, I would say fear was the main force in my life all day long. I describe an addiction as a prison where the walls get narrower and narrower. It takes over your life. The fears take over your whole life. What a way to live. It's really a very pitiful life. And what happens with addictions, really all kinds of anxiety, depression, is you feel estrangement, like you were saying, disconnection. You feel cut off. You're wrapped up in yourself and you
Hmm.
don't trust the world. So you're fearful of the world and you don't trust yourself. You're fearful of your own self. Without that trust, when I when I gained trust in the world again, when I when I could believe that there's an ultimate good purpose to everything and that I'm ultimately good, that switched the whole perspective of life. So
It does. It really does. I was watching actually forgot how where I got this information from, but it was talking about how this woman, she lived in Tornado Alley, her house got broken down from a tornado, but when it was her time to talk to the camera crew, she was just like, I may have lost my house. I may have lost all of my possessions, but I have my children. I have
wow,
my spouse. I have my family. I know my mom is still alive. I know my sister's still alive. We all have lost our house, but glory to God that I still have my life, because that is irreplaceable. I don't know where we're going to sleep tonight, but it's
wow.
okay because I know I have my family with me, and I that will let me sleep tonight. And that right there just made me realize she has joy even through the destruction, even through the
Mm-hmm.
unknown. And joy can be separate from happiness.
Yeah,
Happiness is one thing, but joy is deep rooted, because she knew that her joy laid with her family, laid with that foundation. You know what I mean? So it was a different connection. It wasn't that materialistic things that we attach ourselves to, like the house or the car or our jobs or a purse. So you know what I mean? Shoes, you know what I mean? Things that are just gone with the wind, because
yeah.
as the tornado can come and take everything with it,
Wow.
you are left with what matters. And what matters is your soul, your being, your all that you are inside. And I think that's truly something. Oh my goodness, I'm noticing the time now. Oh, it's catching up with us. Oh, so I
She
guess
she was blessed with gratitude skills.
yeah,
That's what made her that that you could take with you any place. I, I,
exactly.
there was a study that was done where people um, God forbid, were paralyzed, or God forbid, or they won $1 million in a lottery, and 6 months later they were at the same point of happiness they were at before these huge things changed in their lives. Same
Mm,
level, but those people that took on gratitude practices, they actually change their happiness set point. That you can actually evolve as a person to become more grateful. And it's nothing to do with what happens to you. Losing everything in a tornado, she was still a happy, grateful person. She knew how to create joy in her life. Those are the
Mhm.
tools that we can give to everyone.
Absolutely. I love that. Oh, so I guess to finally wrap up the show, what could be some lasting words of wisdom that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
What's the difference between a happy life and a miserable life?
What?
How
Perspective?
grateful you are. That's it. How grateful you are. How that's the whole thing, your perspective. It's this, you could have the same exact things happening. It's a happy life or a miserable life, dependent on how grateful you are.
That's a
Right?
beautiful thing. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing for us all to continue on thinking about. How much gratitude do you have in your life? How much gratitude do you seek in your life? Do you acknowledge the gratitude? Do you have that acknowledgement? That is truly something to really think about. And I really hope that people really do. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys love this conversation, because how could you not, right? Please go check out Bracha. I have her lovely photo on my website, along with her website that has so many great books, so many great content, so much great information to keep you on this train of gratitude, this train of acceptance, this train of just trying to move forward in a life where you feel whole. Because at the end of the day, we are whole individuals, but that like little worm in our head telling us all the opposite things to distract us and to gear us off our path, we need to remember that we are whole and our perspective matters. It really does. So, with that being said, always, always, always keep thinking, y'all. Bye.